What are life hacks?
Nail a job interview.
Tips that make your life awesome.
Save thousands on your next purchase.
That was way too easy.
Hacking the system.
Yeah, that looks like shameless self-promotion. Go!
Welcome to Cordkillers. Our mission to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so you, my friends, have the stuff you want to watch available when you want, where you want, on whatever device you want. I'm Tom Merritt. That handsome man you may have just seen if you were watching the video is Mr. Brian Brushwood.
Yeah, man, I'm still a little bit embarrassed that I said shameless self-promotion. It's shameless self-promotion.
Well, it was also different than other self-promotion, so it's less.
Well, okay, first of all, it was very similar to what we saw 1 year ago when this came out on the National Geographic channel, which is what brings us to the important part, which is Hacking the System is available right now for all of our cord-cutting friends on Netflix.com in the United States. I apologize, everyone else. If you head over to Netflix, you can watch Hacking the System. A bunch of people are binging it for the first time. And, oh, wait, what's this, Tom? If you go to InstantWatcher.com, it seems to say that Hacking the System is the #6 program right behind Marvel's Daredevil.
Yeah, now Instant Watcher is interesting because they provide a better interface to find stuff, especially if you're using a web browser, than Netflix itself, because it just makes it easy to like drill through by names and topics and genres. And they also put up popular shows. Now, we think they could be getting API information from Netflix, but our guess is that they're probably just based on what people are using Instant Watcher to click on, coming up with these numbers, and that means the Instant Watcher crowd is loving your show, Brian.
Yeah, well, and so what's interesting for me is the question of like whether or not InstantWatcher.com is an effective proxy for what everyone else is looking for, because of course,
how representative is this?
Yeah, exactly. Netflix, of course, does not release any of those those numbers. So I don't know. As best we can figure, we've got He Never Died, Bat Kid Begins, Pee-wee's Big Holiday, Jimmy Carr Funny Business, Marvel's Daredevil, and Hacking the System are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, this tells me a lot about what's going on right here. The fact that Daredevil and Pee-wee are not #1 and 2, but Henry Rollins is. Like, all of a sudden, it makes a lot of sense. Like, oh, this is a crowd that watches Netflix on their laptops, on their browsers. They like a certain kind of show. They don't want to just go with the crowd. They're sophisticated Netflix viewers. And they're into hacking the system. That's
I'm
awesome.
Totally okay with that, if that's the case, for the record. But regardless, a number of people have forwarded me screenshots showing them as hacking the system on the popular list. Fair warning, if you're going to watch it with your kids, they don't bleep any of the stuff. So there's a brief moment that I drop some curses, and you can hear those entirely. Just FYI.
We should just go ahead and read that email now. Actually.
Yeah, let's jump in.
Because, we got an email from someone who said they were searching for a show to watch on Netflix and saw that Hacking the System was available, put it on. Before I knew it, their son was putting down Minecraft to watch every minute, which of course included one inappropriate F-bomb. But he said, I'll forgive him. If I'd been stunned, I'm sure you'd hear me say the same thing. He said, we made it through 7 episodes in no time. I made sure my son was aware that he was watching someone that he had also been forced to listen to while in the car with me. I just wanted to pass on that you did a great job. And my 9-year-old is already begging for the end of the season. In other words, like, wanting to get to the end of the season and watch it all.
I got to tell you, Tom, before we jump in here, it's really weird to have gone through the premiere process and gone through, the publicity, free-for-all, and then find yourself in this point where it's like out of nowhere, you just suddenly hear like, hey, by the way, everything exploded. You're getting more feedback from your fans who are watching it on Netflix than did on your cable TV network.
This is like the world premiere for the cord-cutting audience.
Yes, exactly. Exactly, right?
That's fantastic. All right, let's get into the primary target for today.
I agree, sir.
Got a new report from Barclays Capital on the future of media. It's a think piece combined with stats, one of those analyst pieces. But it's interesting because one of the things it focuses on is the concept of a network. And the report says, networks, as we think of them, could become obsolete, at least in many cases. From the report, it says the aggregation platform will become akin to the concept of a cable network today for consumers, but micro-customized to individual preferences. So to translate that into English, they're saying like the Netflixes, the Crackles, the Crunchyrolls will become akin to the concept of a cable network, maybe the Sling TVs. Content will become divided into two main buckets, they say, scripted shows and live events. Live events will migrate to broadcast, and cable companies will either have to do live stuff or just become over-the-top providers like Netflix. Offline TV will no longer become the default. Instead, people will boot up connected TVs or go immediately to the video-on-demand function. So if you're looking for a scripted show, you're going to go into your app and find it then. You're only going to turn on live TV to watch something that's actually live. And they point out, look, total viewership may be falling, but digital viewing is growing. And that refrain particularly sounds like things we've heard regarding music, regarding print over and over again. So, Brian, in a different way, television is coming up against the transition to digital finally. It's kind of staved it off for a few years. And this refrain sounds familiar, which is, what do we need a network for in most cases?
Yeah, man. The whole time you're talking about this, I'm thinking, isn't this pretty much exactly what we told people to be ready for? The fact that, yes, networks will have value, but not in terms of distribution, but in terms of their brand value. Like Kim Kardashian could make her own network right now and feed us with, I don't know, a good, 20 hours a week of material specific to her fans' interests. I mean, understand, like you and I, of course, are live broadcasting right now at diamondclub.tv, which is a shared pool of passionate fans of the content that you and I do. I mean, sure, the word network already didn't mean anything. It's adorable that you guys have finally caught up and figured it out, corporate America.
It still means something to some people because those people are still living in that world, right? But as more of us go to the on-demand, I forget, I apologize for saying this because sci-fi, I mean no disrespect, you really put out some great stuff this year, The Expanse and The Magicians, but I forget where they're from. I'm just watching The Expanse and The Magicians because they're on demand. For me, they're on Apple TV because that's where I subscribe to those season passes.
Dude,
when my wife is watching Mr. Robot, she thinks of it as a voodoo show because that's where we bought Mr. Robot season pass.
So you nailed it. When we think of, yes, there is a place for a brand above the content, right? Contents are individual blocks of whatever experience you're selling, but the brand is the overarching umbrella over them. And I would definitely say that networks are squeezed out. I don't see why I would care that between the actors and producers making The Walking Dead and me consuming The Walking Dead, do I care that it went by way of iTunes? Do I care that it went by way of Amazon? Do I care that it went by way of AMC through cable distribution or whatever?
I mean, I guess one of the things we do talk about is an HBO show or a Netflix show. And those are both available within those apps, but also they have a brand value. Like HBO does these kinds of shows. Netflix is doing these kinds of shows. So I think there's still room for some branding. And maybe if Sci-Fi comes with an a la carte app where we're like, oh, that's the company that brings me The Expanse and The Magicians and shows I love, we're going to be more likely to try out that show because of previous shows. I think that's fair. But the idea of a network, and maybe this is good, a network that's like, we got to put on the things that catch the eyeballs as people are surfing around. I mean, that's gone. It's all about like, who's bringing me the content.
Well, and keep in mind also that those are, I don't know, everything you said is 100% right. Yeah, you know what? I had a bunch of thoughts, but they're all fizzling. Screw it.
Fizzle those thoughts.
Yeah.
Just like networks. It's again, this is not the thing that's going to happen overnight, people. We're not saying networks will be gone tomorrow, but networks need to adapt. They either need to, as we've seen, Fox did The Passion this weekend, a really smart move. Live concert targeted at a religious audience during the week before Easter. Brilliant. That's the kind of thing you got to do. Find those live events that people care about. There's obviously things like sports and things like news that are built in, but come up with those reasons to make people watch, or become an aggregator that says, hey, we're going to go after this audience because we know they'll give us $5 a month to do these kinds of shows.
Now, when you say give us $5 a month,
or
what
whatever,
does that mean?
yeah.
What does that mean? Like
I'm just saying, like, we pay Netflix, we pay Hulu.
Okay,
and so
that's for the big wigs to do. I'm talking about little guys like us, you and me.
Oh,
How are
no,
we
I'm not
gonna
talking
make,
about us at all.
Yeah, how could we make $5 a month?
I don't
off
know.
Of ours?
We should talk about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, okay, I have this
because I think personally, we could probably just ask people.
I mean, do you think we could just turn to our audience and say, hey, how many of you guys want to give us directly $4 or $5 a month? I mean, obviously that would keep us afloat, that would keep us loud, live, and independent. It would keep us at the forefront of their imaginations and their minds.
I mean, they seem pretty cool.
I mean, I agree.
To fork over $1,
but here's the question:
a show
would like 1,961 of them all give us $1 or more?
That seems like a lot.
Yeah, except that's exactly what happened. If you go to patreon.com/Cordkillers, then you can see that 1,961 of your brethren have all decided to step across the line and say, I will defend the Alamo against Santa and his forces, and I will give you a few pennies per episode in order to do it.
Let me tell you, you want to be on the side of the Alamo because people remember the Alamo. Santa Ana, everybody thinks it's John Wayne Airport.
Oh, that's a good point.
Just saying. Hey, folks, thank you for supporting the show. We appreciate every single dime, even if you just want to give a dime. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Let's move on to Signals Intelligence.
I agree. Those signals seem highly intelligent.
They do. They have an intelligence all their own. MGO. You do know it. You don't think you do, ladies and gentlemen, but you do.
I love the fact that you just challenged the audience. They're like, MGO, stop lying. You know who they are. You may think that you don't know, but you know.
You think
that
you go past them every day, at least if you're a Roku owner. MGO is a store for videos, for movies and TV shows, very similar to Vudu or iTunes or Amazon or Google. And it is the default store on Roku. So if you're in that left side nav on the Roku channel and you see buy movies, buy TV shows, that's where you're buying them from if you bought them there from MGO. They're part of the Ultraviolet Network. And back in January, they were purchased by Fandango. Fandango, owned by Comcast, is well known for selling you movie tickets through an app or perhaps over the web. As of March 30th, they'll be rebranding MGO as Fandango Now. By the way, Fandango also bought Rotten Tomatoes. So goodbye, Flickster? I don't know. We'll see. I think what we're seeing is Fandango making a play at being a different kind of TV and movie provider, saying, you want to buy tickets? We got you. You want to buy the movie itself? We got you there. You went to see that movie? Want to buy it digitally? We'll let you pre-order it. Kind of an interesting play.
Yeah, no, it's a good play. So okay, in a branding space, there is a downside to being all things to all people, right? Microsoft is the perfect example of this. Microsoft, for some reason in the late 20th century, early 21st century, could not resist from putting their logo on every single thing on the planet, which I believe is a huge part of why they ended up with in hot water when it came to Internet Explorer. Like if they had just kept that, appearing to be some other company or whatever, they would have been fine. What's the benefit to calling it Fandango Now? Why not brand it as something else? Like, yes, you could be owned by the same thing, but why do you have to call it the same thing?
No, I hear what you're saying, because, trying to put a Microsoft logo on my brother when he was born was a bad idea.
Yeah, no, I agree. And for the record, bad parents, don't do that.
I think what it is MGO means nothing. And MGO has been right in front of your face for a long time, and nobody knows its name.
Or cares.
Right, exactly. Fandango, on the other hand, everybody knows. They've seen those trailers before movies before. They've bought their tickets through Fandango. Like, Fandango is recognizable. So I think in this case, it may be more the idea of let's just rename it something people are familiar with. So they'll be like, oh, that's from Fandango. Now I'm interested. MGO, I had no idea what that was.
Yeah, but I still don't know.
And it fits, right? It's not, let's call it the Fandango car or the Fandango grocery store. Like, it is movies and TV shows.
Yes. No. It's certainly in brand. But I don't know. Like, Fandango to me means live currently premiering movies, and if it's going to be an on-demand video service, I mean, unless we're talking about like kind of, you know, the box office thing that we were talking about last week, I don't know as far as like, you know, how many people, in fact, let me kick it back to the audience. How many of you guys at home, when you think of watching movies at home, think Fandango? I would imagine virtually nobody.
Yeah. No, it's a fair point. What I do think about Fandango, and look, Brian, I'm not as privileged as you. I don't get to go to an Alamo Draft House all the time.
Yeah,
although
you wish.
Apparently we're getting one in downtown LA. But so I use Fandango a lot. Because that's the movie theaters that are near me are through that, and it's just an easy way to do it.
I'm not
and one thing that
you.
they do is they give you free stuff. Like I get free video downloads, free MP3s. Like, hey, we saw that you saw the Avengers. Here's the title theme from the Avengers MP3, absolutely free, no strings attached, because you're buying your tickets through Fandango. You didn't try to get you to come back. So there is something to that, which is like, hey, discounted movie or maybe free movies. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I'm with you. The problem is that in general you want your brand to mean exactly one thing, and that's a difficult place to get, is where your brand means one thing. And Fandango has achieved that. It means tickets on opening night.
That's the risk they're taking, right? Is they're saying our brand now means movies, not just movies at the theater.
Right.
And
old movies. We used to mean new movies. Now we also mean old movies. Who's excited? Nobody? Yeah. No. Oh, I'm sorry. We're Fandango.
Let's gear up now and see what we can watch these movies on.
Yeah.
Actually, we're going to watch Netflix. We're not watching MGO. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, MGO. Why don't you get gone?
Am gone. I think we just titled the show. Netflix has awarded Netflix recommended badges to smart TVs. If you're like, wait, didn't they do that before? Yes, they did it last year, but every year they want to renew the program for the newer TVs. You have to meet 7 criteria. TV has to come on instantly, has to resume from where it was turned off, has to have the latest version of the Netflix app, has to launch fast, has to resume fast, has to have a Netflix button on the remote, and has to have a Netflix icon prominently visible on the screen so you can find it easier. And so far, only 2 series of TVs have been approved. The LG 4K Ultra High Def TVs with WebOS 3.0 in various sizes, and the Sony Android 4K Ultra High Def TVs in various sizes as well. Both the S and the X series, which I'm not sure what the difference between those SKUs are, but most of those Sony Android 4K TVs you see will be Netflix approved. So, Brian, what this means is the box says Netflix approved, and when the guy in the store shows you the TV, goes, hey, it's Netflix approved. Does that make much of a difference to people? I
mean, here's the funny part, is I suspect 2 theoretically opposing views are simultaneously true. The first of which is that I don't think this matters to consumers at all. I don't think... I think the number of people out of 1,000 people who are about to buy a TV, the number of whom care that this one says Netflix approved is 1 out of 1,000, maybe. However, having said that, I suspect that it's extremely valuable in terms of having some kind of benchmark, some kind of universal standard that all television manufacturers should aspire to in order to hit like a base level of we should all be on this. In other words, the mere fact that anybody, and granted it just happens to be Netflix, it could have been Amazon, could have been Hulu or whatever, somebody is standing up saying, hey, jerks, hit these benchmarks if you want a logo that says the word approved on it. That to me is the value of this, and I think it is ultimately really, really good for consumers.
I mean, and Netflix is certainly the most popular streaming service.
Yes.
Out of the Netflix, Amazon, Hulu crowd. And so I can see where the television makers might say, all right, it's gonna move a few more units if that person who likes Netflix either sees that Netflix approved logo, or the salesperson says, you like Netflix? This is Netflix approved. It's the best way to watch Netflix, according to Netflix, not according to Sony, not according to LG. So yeah, it must be worth the engineering to meet those standards. And to be honest, they sound like pretty good standards. Other than putting Netflix on the remote, I would say they are things that you would want to do anyway.
Yeah, pretty much universal.
Yeah, so it's a good thing for the TV makers, probably in general. It's certainly a great thing for Netflix because then they get a button on the remote and more people are going to watch Netflix. So, and I guess the thing I would take away from it is a testament to where we are that television makers would do this at all, to be like, oh yeah, we're not putting Comcast approved on there, we're putting Netflix approved on there.
Yep. By the way, on the one hand, I detect that you're, I don't know, feeling like putting a Netflix button on a remote is kind of crass cronyism or whatever. Like,
no. Let me stop you right there. Put pause. I don't think it's crass cronyism. I think if I'm a TV maker, I want to make you pay me for that button, not give it so I can get a logo.
No,
out of it.
well, I guess that plays in either way, because like I feel like the television feels and looks more valuable by virtue of having that Netflix button on there. Strangely,
maybe with Netflix, you're right. I guess in general, I'm thinking of the MGO button on my Roku that's now going to be obsolete.
Right.
Those lovely RDO buttons that I have on a couple of remotes look a little out of date. But yeah, you're right. Netflix is a high enough brand that it won't suffer those, at least anytime soon.
I'll tell you what's an even higher brand.
Yeah, what's that?
In my book. I mean, not for
you have
everyone.
A book?
No, I don't have a book. I wish I had a book.
The book is called Scams.
No, okay, all right, fine. Yes, I do have a book. Thank you, John Stossel. It's true. You nailed me to a cross. But you know what? My book is not nearly as good as any of the books by Tom Merritt, which is why my pick for our ad is Pilot X by Tom Merritt.
Oh, man. Look, last week I told you about the Brief Guide to Cord Cutting for 99 cents on Amazon. Oh, yeah. But I know a lot of you people are like, well, I already listened to your show. I kind of know the cord cutting. Like, it's great. Might recommend it to a friend. So I got a novel. It's about a time traveler. And he just wants to fly around in his time ship, the Verity. Maybe he's got a little crush on his time ship. I don't know. What are you, a cop? But he wants to just do his thing, and the race of guardians that he works for might be perpetrating a time war that risks destroying everyone in the universe. And so he feels like he has to stop that.
All right. So if anybody wanted to read Pilot X, I assume they'd have to sign up for an installment plan of $125 a month for, 3 years and eventually read it.
Wow. You think I could have got away with that? That would be amazing.
I mean, first of all, I'm just giving you ideas for your next book. Spitballing here.
No, I'm trying out something called Ink Shares. Now, Sword and Laser, the science fiction and fantasy podcast I do with Veronica Belmont, has a collection of books on Ink Shares where we try to expose you to new authors. And that's what Ink Shares' whole thing is: crowdfund your book. If you can get enough people to pre-order the book, they'll publish it. And they're not a self-publisher. Like, they're a real honest to goodness for reals and everything publisher with editors and promotions departments and everything. So if you would like to see my book, Pilot X, become for real published and everything, go to inkshares.com/books/pilot-x.
Now you're talking. So this is all based just on pre-orders.
Yeah. I just need to get 250 pre-orders to get the Quill goal. And that just gets it published with a light edit. 750 books gets it like the full treatment, which I assume includes a massage, but probably for the editors, not me.
Right on, man. Dude, congratulations. I'm so excited.
I'm hoping it goes well. So far, so good out of the gate. It's only been up a day. We got 47 orders, so we are on our way. But if it sounds at all interesting, go check it out. inkshares.com/books/pilot-x. Let's move on to the front lines, shall we?
So we shall.
Oh, the front lines are here, and they're gonna do some stuff like Apple TV. Apple TV was gonna get an operating system update today. I hadn't got mine yet. Maybe you've gotten yours. But what they said in the press conference this morning is that they will add folders. So if you've been downloading a bunch of apps and you've been like, oh, my screen's getting a little long, you can now put them in folders the way you can on iOS. Dictation, specifically for things like username and password. So you don't have to type it in on screen. You can just say ACEDTECT. Live photos, iCloud library integration, and Siri for the App Store. So you can do some searching by voice there as well.
All right, we got 23 seconds left. What else did I miss from the total Apple keynote?
For Cordkillers, nothing. That's it. It's just an operating system update for the Apple TV. They also announced a 4-inch iPhone and a new iPad if that interests
All
you.
right, doggone it. I'll move forward. Twitch launched a new channel dedicated to Cooking Tuesday with a marathon of Julia Childs, the French chef. On Saturday, it expanded with more shows, including a documentary on Sriracha, the Great Chefs TV series, and more. Dude, this is wonderful. This is wonderful, wonderful. And the weird counterintuitive thing is that really all we're watching is Twitch fold back into what it originally was, which was Justin.tv.
And I know some people are frustrated by that, but I think this is genius, where Justin was wide open.
Too wide. Too
You could do
wide.
anything.
Yeah.
And that was too wide. They said, look, gaming is really the only thing that's doing anything, so we'll stick to gaming. And then they found like, hey, in our gaming deal, we have some people sneaking in some creative stuff, some drawings.
Yep.
We have some people sneaking in some cooking stuff here in between. Like, those seem to be getting some views. Well, now let's logically create some new channels around.
Well,
that.
and this is brilliant because they're adding each subdivision one at a time. I could see, like, right now it's cooking, it was creative. I could see them saying hosting, you know, or live shows, or DJing, or eventually filling in all these niches. And the nice thing is they can kill each of these niches for underperforming without ever damaging their main brand. Twitch.tv will always mean people sharing other people's content.
Yeah. Well, although it's not too early to start complaining about those old days when Twitch was better because you were there and before they sold out.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, I
That's
mean, first of all, I already have, Tom.
Yeah.
You've been here for the pre-show and the post-show. Come on, man.
At a press conference Wednesday, Turner CEO John Martin said the company plans a couple of direct-to-consumer products by the end of the year. Martin also expected Turner Networks to be part of a virtual MVPD, multi-channel video programming service, that could be launched this year. He said a breakthrough will come when someone manages to combine a great user interface with great content. But he's not saying what those services will be or which ones they'll be joining.
Yeah. So what does it mean when it's one thing for you and me to say, hey, you know what'd be great is great content managed in a great way with a great interface. It's different for somebody who's a player in the industry to sort of drop that kind of thing. Is there is there a hint he's dropping in there?
Well, there's more. There's a hint and there's a reality. I mean, he's flat out saying like, we're going to have direct-to-consumer products. Now, what he didn't say is, and that will be TBS for you or whatever it'll be called, right? He didn't talk about what channels they would do that with or how they would package it. And then he said, we're expecting to be part of a brand new MVPD, but he didn't say who would make it. And that's when he got all hinty and was like, wouldn't it be great if someone did a great user interface? Like, well, you just said you're going to be part of a new MVPD. We assume that's the one you're talking about, right?
Also, that somebody is me. Ladies, I'm in suite 2143.
I have a great interface.
Hey, man.
I don't know, man. Like, it does sound like Turner is going to come with some HBO Now type service, but also hints are beginning to build around some kind of Sling TV PlayStation Vue competitor launching later this year.
So real quick, we've talked about the fact that we're suffering app fatigue, the fact that everybody says, oh, we own content. Let's wall this off and try to sell it and see. And I assume what happens is everybody has to open their own lemonade stand and realize that that's really inefficient and not performing very well. And then people consolidate into mega lemonade stands or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like up till now, it's been like, nobody can build a lemonade stand. You can only have food courts.
Right.
And now people are building lemonade stands. It's like, okay, that's a lot of lemonade stands. I'm not sure which ones we need, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, you know what we should do is collapse some of them into a food court. that would be great.
Yeah, but a food court over on that side of the highway, not that
yeah,
side.
Yeah, where we decide what's what. Hey, man, Amazon has launched the new Amazon cable store where you could browse bundles of TV, phone, and internet service from cable companies, complete with a credit check and schedule installation. So far, Comcast is the only service available, he said, stealing Tom's next story.
Yeah, no, you know what? This goes better off of John Martin because one of the theories has been that Amazon would come up with their own MVPD service, their own, over-the-top cable service. But instead, what we're seeing of them is helping Comcast sell stuff and creating an infrastructure where they could also help Time Warner and Cablevision and other cable companies sell their stuff through Amazon. So is this just Amazon saying, yeah, we always love being all things. We sell. Well, they don't sell some Apple products, but they sell iPads on Amazon and they sell Kindle Fires, right? Like maybe they're saying like, yeah, we'll keep selling cable company stuff, and maybe they'll still launch their own linear cable service later this year. Maybe they won't.
I mean, it seems reasonable, right? I don't see why they wouldn't. Question mark.
I tell you what, though, if you were to want to order Comcast, this is so much better way to do it. Like, it just breaks everything down in that Amazon way of like, here are the packages, here's how much they cost, here's the ones, here's you can choose like these channels come in here, these channels come in here.
You're not talking in terms of like obligations or of packages. You're talking entirely like you don't have to speak to another living human being.
Yeah. Well, and also like you can choose it says no term, 1 year, 2 year. Like I pitch I'm going to get the agreement length. These are how many channels I want. This, I also want to bundle in internet or phone, or I don't. And you can see what the packages include. It's just clearer. Yeah.
Right on.
New PlayStation Video Android app lets PS3, PS4, and Vita owners stream their purchased movies and TV shows to Android devices. You can also buy shows from within the new Android app, essentially making the PlayStation Video store from the PlayStation something you might want to buy your movies and TV shows from if you're the kind of person who wants to watch them on multiple devices. Right.
Well, and we do have some emails because we requested people chime in on their experience with View, but that's great. That's good news all around. Hey, Verizon Fios TV is discontinuing its apps for Xbox and smart TVs as of March 31st, but great news, in air quotes, you can watch Fios TV on the mobile app for iOS and Android.
That great news is a quote from their they're from their email to people like, we're getting rid of your Xbox app.
I thought you meant that in terms of like the sarcastic great news, but great news.
No, that's the way they wrote it. They're like, great news. You can watch it on your like tiny little phone.
Fair enough.
Isn't that awesome? Hey, or your big tablet. I don't know. It's a weird thing to do, though. Like, is this mean that Verizon is either doubling down on Go 360 or Go 180 or whatever that's called? Or are we going to see a Verizon over-the-top service and they want to reserve their space on Xboxes and smart TVs for that?
Here's where we're headed is everybody under the age of 15 regards their space, their private space, the space that they're super excited about as their own personal phone. And that's where they're going to experience even mind-blowing movies like, let's say, Stanley Kubrick's 2001 or whatever, the next generation of filmmakers will experience on their smartphones right now. It's going to be 20 years out, 15 years out, that they're like, oh my gosh, look at me. I'm like my parents. I have a big screen now, and I'm able to just put whatever I want on it without fighting with other siblings because I'm now a grown-up now. It's Do you remember, Tom, like, did you have a television in your own room at any point when you were an adolescent?
When I turned 12 in 1982.
Yep.
And got my TI 99 4A.
Right.
My dad gave me his 19-inch black and white Columbia set so that I could use my TI. And then, of course, it had rabbit ears, so I could pick up a few broadcast channels.
Sure. But you remember what a big deal that was, even though that was the crappiest display in the entire house, right?
Yeah, and then I got a 13-inch color TV from JCPenney that was cracked, so we got a discount on it. And then I could actually get color TV shows. And then I figured out that the cable system ran through the whole house, and I could actually get the cable system in there. And I got at least 13 channels. Yeah, totally.
So, again, that's what our kids are going to perceive all of this time in their life as. This is their moment.
But I mean, why does that explain Verizon taking away their Xbox and smart TV apps? Because they already had the iOS and Android apps before.
Yes, it did. Look, I was trying really hard to distract from the bad news. I was trying to put a positive spin on this. It's not working out so well.
Screw. See, and plus, none of those kids are going to get Verizon Fios, are they? I don't know.
It's fine.
Maybe. Yeah. Let's move on to Under Surveillance then. Talk about what they're watching. E will start streaming a daily show that they've been doing called Live from E on Facebook starting today, actually, earlier today, 12:30 Eastern time, on Monday. Show had previously been available on E's website, but Facebook actually got brand name programming now.
Ish. I mean, yeah, ish, right? Name in the last 2 months anything that you watched on
I'm not
Facebook.
the target demo, though.
I know I'm not either, but my experience, like it's so bad that it's turned me off from even trying to look at video on Facebook, right? I go to Facebook and I see video auto playing and I'm like ugh, and I just shut it and get it away, and I just suspect this is more of the same.
The 8 seasons of the 21st century Doctor Who, whatever we call it, it's not a reboot, it's a restart. But the ones from this century will return to Amazon as an exclusive starting March 27th. The 9th season arrives this autumn. And of course, the 10th season starts on BBC America and BBC in 2017. Actually starts with the Christmas episode at the end of 2016. But remember, Doctor Who got pulled from everything, and we all thought, oh, this is the BBC bringing their own service to America. This implies that maybe not. That.
Yeah. No, okay, right on. I mean, question, am I alone in this? Some part of me would love to see a hard break, a separation from everything pre-21st century to now. Like, part of me wishes we had a harder reboot with Christopher Eccleston. Wouldn't it be great if that was the beginning of what everything else was nonsense?
Burn the past.
Yes, exactly, right? Like pull a Disney and say all of the expanded universe Star Wars novels are just legends.
That's the beginning of a time war.
Okay, all right.
You can read about it in Pilot X.
Fine.
Chelsea Handler's Netflix show Chelsea will start airing 3 days a week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, May 11th. They are 30-minute episodes on Netflix.
And this is live to tape, much closer to
they
Chelsea
say they'll
lately,
post
right?
within 12 hours of recording.
Yeah. Smart deal. I now that we're on the other side of it, and now that I tried to watch the first half of the first episode, I just question whether or not those documentaries were really a good investment for Netflix to sort of build up the hype machine. Bryce, you watched all of those. Do you feel like this really enhanced your excitement for this?
Yes, because I've seen Chelsea lately before, and it was very pop culture heavy, and what the documentaries sort of were trying to push more was that it's going to be a little more serious,
tell their own
and
story.
a little more real, like even more real newsy. There's also the element that it's on Netflix, so that there's a chance that it has to be on some level maybe evergreen,
right?
Because that archive is always going to be there. So, I think there's a variable there that we'll have to see to believe.
All right. Netflix posted a teaser for its next Adam Sandler movie, The Do-Over, starring Sandler and David Spade, for release May 27th. It's allegedly about a bank manager who fakes his death and takes off on an adventure.
Hey, man. They say if you don't have anything nice to say...
Talk about Paramount's The Little Prince debuting on Netflix instead of hitting theaters in the U.S. March 18th. It won France's César Award for Best Animated Film. Stars Jeff Bridges, Rachel McAdams, Paul Rudd, Marianne Cotillard, James Franco, and Benicio del Toro. And they were just having all kinds of hand-wringing about releasing it in the U.S., and Netflix just came in and said, we'll buy it. We'll buy out the back ends. We'll pay for it. It's coming to us. No release date yet, though.
Dude, I'm not going to lie. Hearing stories like that, whatever. No, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say, Tom, that I feel like the fact that Hacking the System is doing really well and very prominently, very popular on Netflix means that I should pitch personally some kind of follow-up series as a Netflix original. I will not say that.
No, you would never say that.
No, that would be irresponsible.
I can't imagine you saying something like that.
Tom, all of these stories are unrelated.
Indiana Jones will return on July 19th, 2019. That's right, folks. Steven Spielberg directing, Harrison Ford starring, Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall producing. Same guy who wrote Crystal Skull writing.
Dude,
he wrote Jurassic Park, though. He's not all bad.
I mean, that's fine.
I tell you what, there's one name that we aren't hearing associated with this movie.
Ernie Klein.
Well, that wasn't the name I was thinking of. George Lucas.
That's fine. Whatever.
He was involved in Crystal Skull, won't be involved in this one.
We'll see what that amounts to. But
and Harrison Ford's going to be in it.
What are we worried he didn't have enough money?
I'm just saying,
why he's on there?
Harrison Ford probably wouldn't do it if he didn't think it were a chance of being good, especially after Crystal Skull.
I guarantee you, with those resources, I at this point, and this is said with all love, Bryce, I would rather see you as Indiana Jones than Harrison Ford. Just because you could jump.
Yeah, when you put it that way, I kind of do want to see Bryce in Indiana.
Right? Come on.
It belongs in the museum.
See, it's great.
He's a natural. What have you been watching, Brian?
All the usual suspects. I only got a chance to. This has been an amazing week. This was the week that it was a surprise to me, but Hacking the System is now on Netflix. If you haven't,
what?
wait, yeah, no, I don't know if you heard
tell
this.
me?
Yeah, no, I should have told you.
Yeah.
But a bunch of people were reacting to that, and it gave me a moment. I also found out, for FYI, that they're unbleeped. So, like, moments when I cursed before and didn't worry about it because it was on National Geographic, apparently I can ruin your 9-year-old's world. I watched the first episode of Netflix, or I'm sorry, of Daredevil. I watched the first episode of Halt and Catch Fire, started the second episode. I watched the beginning of Pee-wee's Big Holiday, and I did watch all of 11/22/63 and Better Call Saul.
Now, did you bail on Pee-wee because of like you had to get going somewhere, or because you weren't liking it?
No, because I have children.
Okay, okay.
Although you haven't watched it, right?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, let me speak in general terms about it. It was fascinating because, like, one of the things I read was, number one, Paul Rubens was talking about the fact that he's both physically and mentally slower than he was 30 years ago, understandably, when he did Pee-wee's Big Adventure. But it hit me that he's almost my dad's age right now. And I look at my dad and I look at Paul Rubens. Paul Rubens looks amazing in Pee-wee's Big Holiday. I found out that they were doing some digital nipping and tucking on the fine lines, on all of those indicators that you're over 60 years old. But the one thing they, of course, could not fix is the fact that he moves slower and the pacing of the bits are slower. Now, having said that, I hear that the last half of the episode is just a nostalgia fest and it's amazing. There's fantastic cameos and all this stuff. I haven't gotten to that yet, but it was fascinating to watch it and have my kids in the room who are only vaguely aware of Pee-wee, and I think like 5 years ago they saw Pee-wee's Big Adventure, but all they kept asking was like, "What's wrong with his face, Dad? Why does he look like that?"
They got an uncanny Pee-wee, huh?
They got uncanny Pee-wee. It's an uncanny Pee-wee.
Yeah. I'm curious at what you're going to think of Halt and Catch Fire if you keep watching it, because I really enjoyed the first couple episodes of that, and then it was one of those things that built up on the DirecTV DVR until I canceled DirecTV and sent the DVR back, and I've never gone and picked it up. So apparently season 2 gets much better. I don't know.
I thought
I love the idea of it.
I thought the first couple episodes were tremendous as they were. I mean, I thought you had these
there's some good
archetypes.
stuff in those first couple episodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Season 1 is fantastic. I just started season 2. Season 2 just got on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
It's and I'm a couple episodes in, and it's also very good.
Yeah,
it's a turn, but it's very good.
And by the way, weirdly, like as much as we've hit them hard on the title being kludgy and clumsy, like the moment you watch it, the moment you understand that this is a computing, situation or whatever, and that it's related to what you see, I don't know. I liked it a lot better.
Something I've been watching is the Venture Brothers, which, at this point is an aging franchise, weirdly enough. But I feel like this is one of their strongest seasons yet. They've moved them to New York. It's really well balanced across the Monarch, Rusty, and the kids. I think the fact that Hank's back makes a big difference to me. He's one of my favorite characters.
Hank's back?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he never was gone, but he was like only in a couple of episodes, and he's been in every single episode this season. So I'm
Hank or Brock?
Brock. What did I say?
My
Hank?
God! I was like, how do you drop one of the Venture Brothers and not notice?
No, I'm sorry, I meant Brock. I got all old man. I didn't even realize
okay,
what
all
my
right,
mouth
I feel
was doing.
much better now.
Yes, Brock. Brock is back. Hank never left. Hank has been in all the episodes. Do not panic.
Right on.
Brock is back in every episode, and he's a big favorite of mine. I even remember his name sometimes. That's how big of a favorite he is for me. And Vinyl. If you don't like watching a coke addict, don't watch the latest episode of Vinyl, because wow, uncomfortable realism in this, but well done. Like, oh man, yeah, I don't want to be around that person right now. Thank goodness they're protected behind glass in my television screen. But really capturing still that mood of the record business in 1973.
Right on.
What you been on the lookout for, Bryce?
Hey, I want to tell you guys about a new series that Netflix put out. I want to say it was last week or the week before, called The Characters, or rather Netflix presents The Characters. So they reached out to these 8 up-and-coming comedians, and they gave them a single 30-minute episode to do whatever they wanted, and they're all it's a lot of character heavy work. So each one does a bunch of different characters. Some of them spend some time as themselves. Some of it's all just fictional characters. I think the idea is really solid. Like if you have, comedians who do a lot of sketch and comedy work, it's a big investment to give them, have a big sketch troupe and give them a full show compared to like a stand-up and doing a 90-minute special. But I like the idea, and what's nice, there are some episodes that just weren't my taste, but because every episode is so heavy on each comedian's sensibility, you can watch one that you maybe don't like and go to the next one and have a completely different experience. So that's the characters on Netflix. There's 8 half-hour episodes available worldwide now.
That's an interesting experiment, essentially trying to make a Monty Python, Kids in the Hall, Mr. Show happen,
but without a troupe behind it.
A troupe.
Yeah.
Right. So sort of trying to force the organic chemistry between them.
And there's no interplay between. Every person gets their own episode.
But they're siloed off. Okay, I get it.
Well, I mean,
there's no interplay between.
But the other characters act in those, right? No. Wait,
no.
what?
No. Lori Lapkus has an episode where she plays the characters in all of her skits. That's where it's kind of different.
Yeah, no, that's a
so you might hate,
deal
like you say, you might hate an episode, but that's fine because those people will be gone.
Not even in the next one, right?
Weird. I want a series called The Characters, which is just really famous character actors. You can never remember their name, and then they all are in the show in equal billing with no stars. That's just something I came up with. Netflix, you can take it, run with it. It's fine.
Right on.
Got something we should be on the lookout for. Email us cordkillers@gmail.com.
Heck yes, we read all of that.
And we're about to read them now. Dispatches from the front.
Well, I mean, we don't read them all out loud. Tom, come on. You didn't just say that, did you?
Hello, Tom, Brian, and crew, exclamation point. I was listening to your... No, I'm not going to do that. I was listening to your discussion about bringing new release movies to your home instead of the theaters. We were talking about that startup that would charge $50 to give you that access, but also give you tickets to the theaters. And Benjamin says... reminded me of special events offered by the Alamo Drafthouse. Brian mentions theaters like Alamo lean towards food and drinks to bring in money. The Alamo near me does several special events from week to week. Sing and quote-alongs, all-you-can-eat cereal parties, movie marathons, even movie/lecture events partner with our local university. I wonder if more theaters would start to lean towards these kinds of events if people begin to just watch new movies from home. Our Alamo is holding a watch party for Serenity next week, and even though the movie is on Netflix, I'm considering going just to see it with other fans of the series.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Like why do we... We listen to albums at home, but we go to concerts because they're unique and special and there's something live happening. And it doesn't matter, like, for example, let's say you're going to have Flash Gordon play and Queen will perform the soundtrack live. Well, then really you're going there for the concert. You're going there for the one-of-a-lifetime experience. But then let's say there's a lower fidelity experience where it's like Flash Gordon's playing, but there's a karaoke where you're going to get up and you're going to be the one singing Flash, wow, wow, and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, there's a reason to go to that. And then there's an even lower fidelity where it's the Queen quote-along or the Flash quote-along and so on. It's like all of this makes sense to me. It's like if you're going to leave the house for a GD reason, Don't do it just because that's the only way you can see the movie. Do it because you want the higher fidelity experience with other people. Here's
the thing. If we don't want creative arts to be made in a certain way, we won't support them. So if we're like, no, we can watch movies at home, we don't care about seeing it on a big screen, then big screens will go away. But if theaters provide us something that is worth seeing, then we will go to them. And maybe that's just better sound and better video for a lot of people. And there will be theaters that will survive just because of that. But other people will want to have a different reason to leave their house. Like, look, better sound and better picture ain't enough for me to brave that crowd and that parking. But an all-you-can-eat cereal fest? Okay, yeah, now I'm in. That sounds fun, right? Like, there's no law that says you must go to the theater to watch movies because that's the way God intended it. Like, it's all about what you're willing to spend your time and money on, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, John writes us, $50 to get movies at home when you have a pause button. Sounds great. PlayStation Vue trial was a total fail for me. I had first generation PS3 and have no idea how the service looks because all I ever get is an error message. Tech support was no help either. The silver lining is that for $30 you can use those Vue creds to authenticate TV Everywhere apps on the Roku, Apple TV, and in the browser, which was something I didn't think about. This is more of that virtual, that cable fig leaf that we talked about, where it's like, just throw money at someone so you have a password to get into all the places you really want to be.
And I feel like if John had a Fire TV, which has the PlayStation Vue app, he might have felt differently there. But yeah, the PlayStation, interesting that that is available for the PlayStation 3, but that is a different piece of machine. PlayStation Vue works for me, except for network outages. It sounds like he had even worse problems. Sean says, hey guys, the reason my wife and I are seasonal Cordkillers is sports broadcasts. We need Comcast Sportsnet in our area. I did not have a PlayStation account, but I signed up for one on the Fire TV because guess what? They had Comcast Sportsnet. Next night, team was playing, asked if we could try streaming the game. She agreed, tuned to CSN on the Vue app, and I received, sorry, we are not allowed to stream this game due to content ownership rights. Foiled again. And it's interesting to me that he says he is using the Fire TV app. My guess is, because when I had PlayStation Vue, this was always the case on my iPad, was I'd want to watch something on the PlayStation Vue. I'd be watching it on the PlayStation Vue. Then I'd go to my iPad. It's like, it's not approved for mobile. My guess is there are things that are available on an actual PlayStation that aren't available on the Fire TV app because they didn't get the rights.
Yeah, man. I'm trying real hard to. Unfortunately, I'm not. Oh, here we go. We got a bunch of people chiming in on their PlayStation Vue experiences. And then we got this email saying from Tom, Hulu sent me a survey a few days ago, and starting about 20 or so questions in, the entire survey switched gears and started asking how I felt about a quote-unquote hypothetical new internet streaming TV service. To start, they asked if I've heard of various streaming services, including Sling TV, PlayStation Vue, and even Apple's long-rumored streaming service. Later, they said this new hypothetical service could be offered by a number of companies, including Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, or Apple, but that I was randomly assigned Hulu as the company behind this hypothetical new service. Anyway, it went on to show me about 10 or so variations of channels, features, cloud DVR, 8-day on-demand, ad skipping, etc., and costs, asking me how likely I would be to sign up for each, or if I'd rather just stick with traditional television. So what do you think? Will Hulu try and start competing with competing more directly with Sling TV and PlayStation Vue? Love the show. I gotta say, my impression, Tom, is that that's what all these guys do. They all hire people to ask all kinds of wild questions, including, like, for example, Dunkin' Donuts might send out a survey saying, like, what if Dunkin' Donuts was your #1 IT provider? If you want antivirus, think of Dunkin' Donuts. I got to imagine.
Would you find this confusing, elating? No, exactly. What this is, what you can say for sure this means, and this is not surprising, is that Hulu is very curious what you think about people providing a new service for streaming you video in the way Sling TV does. They want to know, okay, you are a Hulu subscriber. Do you like these kinds of things? Are you tempted by these kinds of things? And if we were to provide it, would you like it? It doesn't mean they're considering it. It doesn't mean they're not considering it. It means they need to find out what you think of this stuff for both the reason of positioning Hulu against Sling TV, because it is a threat, right? It's like, oh, well,
sure.
If I, PlayStation Vue even better, right? Because they have more local channels available in more places. Like if I can watch my ABC, CBS stuff on PlayStation Vue, why would I bother with Hulu? So they want to be able to combat that. They want to find out how appealing that is. And likewise, they might be looking at a situation where they're like, hey, we have 3 of the major 4 broadcasters on board already for streaming. Maybe we should do this like streaming TV service that everybody thinks is so hot. So that makes me wonder, Brian, is that the one that Turner was talking about is Hulu, because there we can put two and two together and say, okay, well, maybe Hulu is thinking about this. It would make sense if they were.
I mean, it would make huge sense insofar as they've already worked out. We've already talked about on this show that the real problem is not, of course, the ability to get content. It's not about the technological ability to distribute content. The biggest problem keeping people from having a music-like experience with their video is the fact that it's all these intractable previous agreements that everyone has, right?
Yeah.
Hulu has at least gotten inroads with all of these manufacturers, with all of these content owners. I gotta feel like that would be actually, I think, a really smart play because it would set Hulu apart. Think about it. Of the big three, Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hulu, if one of them were to start something that looked like live TV as it was happening, which of those three is best positioned to do exactly that and have the entire world accept it? I got to feel like Hulu for live TV would all of a sudden rocket them from third place up to possibly first.
And think about it, right? It's ABC, Comcast / NBC, and Fox that are the major owners, major investors in Hulu. If they had their way, they'd be streaming their channels on there. The only reason they never did was because they didn't want to threaten those deals with the cable companies. They didn't want to drive up the price with the cable companies in the next round of negotiations. Well, now there's PlayStation Vue. Now there's Sling TV. They can point at that and say, well, hold on, guys. This is just the way of the world. This is the way things are going. So guess what? Hulu has already done the hard work. The hardest work of this kind of thing is getting the local affiliates on board when you want to bring in broadcast channels. That's why Sling TV only has a limited number of ABC stations available in a limited number of markets. It's why PlayStation Vue only offers local channels streaming in a few markets. It's because they have to get those deals. Hulu already worked out those deals. They've already dealt with all the local affiliates to be able to stream things the next day. So now they've got a relationship. I'm not saying it's a dead simple thing to go to the affiliates, but they've done it before. So now they can go to them and say, hey, what if we put your channel up? We already have a system to put your logo up in the bottom right hand of the screen for people. Like, let's make this happen. Let's do this. They could switch it on and suddenly be the big competitor. And here's another part, Brian. Hulu already has a deal with CBS to carry Showtime as an add-on.
Right.
Why wouldn't they do it for CBS All Access too?
All right, look, Tom. All of this is fine and good, but it seems to me like in the real world, if you were going to consider making this kind of move, you wouldn't just jump into it willy-nilly. Seems like you would commission some kind of large-scale survey to find out whether or not this is something that...
Yeah, you're right, Brian. We have absolutely one piece of evidence.
But it's 100% confirmation of our theory.
Hey, I will say...
this is all wild speculation, but it is pieces of the puzzle that look like they would fit if they existed. We just don't know.
So Bryce had a theory here.
A week before Hulu Ad Free, a week or two before Hulu Ad Free launched, a friend that I know personally got a survey from Hulu asking what prices they would like.
Interesting.
And I've heard, I feel like I heard a similar story with the Showtime before the Showtime launched. So I think if it's favorable, I would imagine we could see something turned around, possibly
in the next week or two. Yeah,
maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right on.
Well, we'll keep an eye out. That's why we're here. Cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we're live on diamondclub.tv and alphageekradio.com. Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We will cut your cords later.
Yeah. We'll assassinate them.
Almost said I'll cut you later, but
I'll cut you. We'll kill you later.
We won't
kill you
we'll
later.
Most likely kill you in the morning. Good night,
hey guys, Tom and Brian here. We just wanted to say thank you to all of our $5 patrons who keep us loud, live, and independent. You guys make Cordkillers the production that it is.
Your name appears in the video credits and appears in our hearts. And if you'd like to become one of them or see who they are, you can go to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
You'll need to do more than just go there, though. You'll have to sign up and, pledge an amount. But
unless you just want to see who they are.
Well, I mean, you could gawk. That's a little creepy, isn't it?
If you want to be a gawker,
let's go.
It's up to you.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.